Chapter 3. It took Nick and Tesla less than 40 minutes to build the rocket. But Tesla insisted they take another 10 minutes to search the basement, very, very warily in Nick's case, for paint they could use to decorate it. Not long after they found some, in a cabinet marked monkey-proof for some reason, the rocket was gleaming white with black panels and tips, classic NASA style. Tesla christened it with a name she painted on the nose cone in curly red letters. The Albert and Martha Holt. Albert and Martha Holt were their parents. Dad always said he became a scientist because he wanted to ride on the space shuttle, Tesla said. Well, now we can give him his ride. In spirit, anyway. How do you go from being a wannabe astronaut to being an expert on soybeans? Nick asked. I don't know. We'll have to ask Dad. Yeah, the next time we talk to him, whenever that'll be. Hey, they said they'd call when they could. They're in Karakol, Pakistan, remember? Tesla was proud of herself for getting out Karakol, Pakistan on the first try. Nick just nodded glumly. Karakol, Pakistan was the region of Uzbekistan their parents were traveling to. Nick and Tesla had looked it up on Wikipedia. It was 6 times bigger than Texas and had 1/25th as many people. Its one and only radio station had opened just a few months earlier. Needless to say, there probably weren't many cell phone towers there. Nick brought his hand up and touched his chest where the pendant their parents had given him made a little lump under his shirt. Tesla knew what he was thinking. We want you to wear these, Mom had told them as she hung the pendants around their necks, so you'll always feel us with you, no matter how long we might be apart. The next day, Nick and Tesla had been on a plane for California. Don't worry, Tesla told her brother, unconsciously bringing her fingers up to touch her pendant too. Mom and Dad'll be all right. Karakol Pakistan. Tesla grimaced and tried again, enunciating carefully. Karakol, Pakistan isn't dangerous. It's just kind of empty. Yeah, I'm sure you're right, Nick said. But it didn't sound like he meant it. While they waited for the cement and paint on the rocket launcher to dry, Nick and Tesla went looking for Uncle Newt. They found him in the same place he'd been the last time they'd looked for him, the master bathroom on the 2nd floor. They dragged him out of the shower for help with the rocket. Even Tesla, bold as she could be, knew better than to try her luck with a power drill, and he must have jumped right back in the second he could. He was understandable, actually. His hair had still been half orange. The bathroom had what looked like a submarine airlock instead of a normal door, and unlike before, it was now closed up tightly. When Nick and Tesla pressed their ears to the metal, they could dimly hear the sound of running water and Uncle Newt crooning Winter Wonderland. Outside it was sunny and 70 degrees.
Gone away is the something. Here to stay is the something. Wee da da da, da la 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 la. Something and a something, booby ba.
Uncle Newt? Tesla yelled. Uncle Newt! Nick yelled. Uncle Newt! They yelled together.
In the meadow, we can something, Uncle Newt sang. And the something la la la. We'll have something with the something until the hoo has jooby ja.
Great, Nick sighed. He's ignoring us now. I guess I can't blame him, said Tesla. His hair was still half orange the last time we pulled him out of there. Well, I'm starving. Can we go see if the cat left us some cake? Tesla thought it over, weighing her hunger against the chance of eating cake a cat had licked. She was very, very hungry. Good idea, she said. Apparently the cat had tired of icing after cleaning off a quarter of the cake. It was nowhere to be seen now, and Tesla guessed it had staggered off somewhere to sleep off its sugar buzz. Already on the table were plates and forks and a knife, and Nick and Tesla served themselves slices of cake that were, they hoped, cat spit free. Since there were no chairs in the room, only the strange straps dangling from the ceiling, they would have to eat standing up. Nick put a forkful of cake in his mouth. Tesla put a forkful in her mouth. "Gah!" Nick said. "Blech!" said Tesla. They spit the cake back onto their plates. "Salt," said Nick. Tesla nodded. "Instead of sugar." She spat on her plate again. Nick tossed his plate on the table and hurried toward the kitchen. "Ugh, I need something to drink." "Me too," Tesla said, following her brother. "We'd better make it something from a can." "Right." Nick had tasted Uncle Newt's idea of cake. He had no desire to see what the man's homemade lemonade might be like. "Hey! Chocolate milk!" Tesla said when they opened the refrigerator. She started to take the plastic jug out of the fridge. "Wait!" Nick said. He pointed at the expiration date stamped on the side. February 22nd, it said. "Whew," Tesla said as she put back the chocolate milk. "Close call." Everything else in the refrigerator was just as old, with the mold to prove it. The only other liquid, other than some puddles of brown goo from rotten fruit, was a bottle of diet soda with "Mine" written on the side, and a specimen jar marked "Byproduct." Acid? They found some glasses and got water from the tap. "Tez, what would you call Uncle Newt?" Nick said. "A fruitcake or a flake?" Dad always called him eccentric when he talked about him. And Mom would just roll her eyes. Well, Uncle Newt's not a fruitcake or a flake. He's family. Yeah, flaky fruitcake family. Why do you think Mom and Dad sent us to stay with him instead of Grandma or Aunt Mary or the Harringtons? It's like they chose the least responsible, most checked out, distant relative they could think of. Maybe they did. Why would they do that? Change of pace? Tesla said. She put her glass in the sink. Come on, let's go test our rocket. The kids stepped out the back patio door onto Uncle Newt's tiny cracked concrete patio. Nick carried the launcher and the pump. Tesla carried the rocket and a plastic jug filled with water. The jug used to contain chunky chocolate milk sludge. It had been cleaned very, very thoroughly, but it still smelled like the bottom of a compost heap. Unfortunately, it was the only jug they could find that didn't have poison or a skull and crossbones on it, so they were stuck with it. Maybe not the best place for a launch pad, Nick said, looking out at the yard. The grass was 2 feet high. Sprouting from it, here and there, were weeds as tall as Tesla. Front yard? Nick said. Front yard, said Tesla. They walked around the house and started setting up the launcher near the pole that the runaway lawnmower had been tethered to. Stop! Someone shrieked when they were almost done. Nick and Tesla turned to find a woman standing at the edge of the neighboring yard. It was easy to see where the edge was. The grass on the woman's side was so immaculately manicured it looked like a smooth green sheet. What do you think you're doing? The woman snarled. She was the woman Nick had seen earlier, the one who'd come back from the gym right after Uncle Newt's lawnmower chewed through her begonias. She'd cleaned herself up and put on fresh clothes, but she was still scowling. We're, Tesla began. No, you are not, the woman declared. We're just, Tesla said. No. We're just testing. No! Nick decided to see if he could get further than his sister. Excuse me, he said. He raised the rocket and tapped the tip. This is just plastic and cardboard. It wouldn't hurt anything even if... Oh, sure, the woman broke in. She crossed her arms over her chest and somehow managed to smirk without losing her scowl. Your little missile is harmless. It's not a missile, Tesla said. It's a rocket. The woman didn't hear her. She never stopped talking long enough to try. Like the self-emptying garbage can that dumped 20 pounds of compost in my pool was harmless. Like the automatic car washer that scraped the paint off my Prius was harmless. Like the skunk trap that stunk up the neighborhood like a burning outhouse was harmless. That's a strange definition of harmless you people have. Come on, Tesla muttered, picking up the launcher and the pump. We'll find somewhere else to test the rocket. She and Nick left Uncle Newt's yard and started up the street, although they had no idea where they were going. They were just heading in what was obviously the best direction, away from the woman. "And tell your friend, Dr. Frankenstein, he owes me a garden gnome," she shouted after them. "He's our uncle," Tesla called back over her shoulder. The last thing they heard the woman say was, "My condolences!"
"At least he has a cool house,"
Nick said out of the blue. He and Tesla had been wandering around the neighborhood for 15 minutes looking for a park where they could test their rocket. "Who? Uncle Newt?" said Tesla. Nick nodded. "I'm counting silver linings. Like, I bet he won't make us pick up our rooms. Probably not. I bet he won't make us eat broccoli or brush our teeth. I bet not. I bet he won't give us chores. I bet he won't yell at us if we accidentally let the water in the bathtub overflow. I bet he won't ground us if one of our experiments blows up." "I think you might be right." Nick and Tesla walked a while in silence. "I miss Mom and Dad," Nick said. "Me too," said Tesla. They never did find a park, but they did find an empty field. It was at the northern edge of the neighborhood, where the road curved and became a private drive blocked by a black iron gate. "Looks like Wayne Manor," Nick said, staring at the huge run-down house the driveway led to. "Or a haunted mansion," said Tesla. "I betcha $1,000,000 the local kids call it the Old Jones Place or the Old Smith Place or something like that." "Deal," said Nick. He and his sister made such bets all the time. As Tesla figured it, Nick owed her $14 million. "Come on," Tesla said. She headed out into the field. It was lined on one side by a slim strip of trees. Just beyond, in the shade of their branches, was the tall fence that surrounded the old whoever place. The field was big enough for a house and a yard, and not small ones either. Yet it was empty. A no-man's land, obviously meant to separate the estate from the rest of the neighborhood. Whoever the whoevers were, they sure liked their privacy. The field was full of brittle yellow grass and reedy weeds. The soil felt loose and sandy. When Nick and Tesla were in the middle of the field, they could see why. The far end of the field sloped down to the bank of a narrow stream. "We're pretty close to the ocean," Tesla said. "I bet that water flows right into it." "Whoa," Nick said. The most interesting thing in their old neighborhood, he'd always thought, was their own house, and more specifically the projects and experiments he and Tesla were always tinkering with. The runner-up was a 7-Eleven. So, though Nick wasn't the most adventurous person in the world, having an ocean in the backyard sounded pretty cool. "Maybe we could learn how to kayak," he said. "Or even surf." He paused to ponder that idea, and his enthusiasm dimmed. "They have sharks around here, don't they?" Tesla nodded. "Great whites." Nick turned his back to the creek. "That looks like a good spot to launch from," he said. He walked to an especially smooth, weed-free patch of ground nearby. Tesla followed, and soon they had their launcher ready. They both wanted to do the pumping, and neither wanted to pour the smelly water from the jug into the rocket. So they had to make a deal. Tesla would do the pouring, Nick would do the pumping, and Tesla would add another $2 million to her brother's debt. Tesla managed not to gag as she filled the rocket. When it was half full, Nick tipped over the launcher and screwed on the rocket. Then he straightened the launcher again, connected the pump to the pipes, and started forcing in air. Tesla took a big step back. When the rocket launched, That nasty sour milk water was going to spray everywhere. "Is anything happening?" Nick asked. Tesla took a cautious step forward. "I think I see some bubbles, but it's hard to tell." "Oh, great. Good thing someone insisted on painting the bottle. Now we can't see what's going on inside." "Shut up," Tesla said. Nick started pumping up and down faster. The rocket didn't move. "Why isn't it working?" Nick said. "I don't know." Tesla started toward the rocket. Nick stopped pumping. "I don't think you want to do that," he said. "I just want to check the seal. Maybe it's not tight enough and air's leaking out." Tesla bent down beside the launch pad. "I really don't think you want to do that," Nick said. Tesla ignored him. As she leaned in to check the rocket, her pendant and chain draped over the nose cone. She didn't seem to notice. Nick did. "Tesla!" he cried. He reached toward his sister and accidentally knocked the pump handle down, providing the last puff of air the rocket needed. It shot upward with a high-pitched whoosh, taking the pendant, the chain, and a small clump of Tesla's hair with it. "Ow!" said Tesla, then "Ew!" as the spray of foul-smelling water shooting out of the rocket drenched her head. "No!" said Nick. "No, no, no!" Despite the bungled launch, the rocket was flying faster and higher than they ever could have hoped, which was the problem. Instead of going straight up and coming straight down, the bottle, weighted down by its unintended cargo, was arcing to the right. As it plummeted to Earth again, it was headed for the trees on the edge of the field. Nick started running after it. "If it lands in the top branches, we'll never get it down." "Don't freak out," Tesla grumbled. She took a quick test sniff of her hair and grimaced. "It's not going fast enough to go as far as—" "Oh." The rocket zipped over the trees and landed with a little hollow thud on the wrong side of the tall fence surrounding the old whoever place. "Oh no," Nick moaned as he trotted up to the fence. He put his hands on the crisscrossing wires and stared forlornly at the Albert and Martha Holt. "Should I climb over and get it?" "Go for it," Tesla said. "And for the next launch, you get to pour the stink water into the—" "Nick, look out!" Two large dark shapes appeared on the other side of the fence and hurled themselves at Nick. Nick yelped and yanked his hands away from the fence just in time. He jumped back, tripped over the nearest tree roots, and fell over backward. "Are you all right?" Tesla said as she came running toward her brother. Nick sat up and glared first at her and then at the two huge Rottweilers that stood between them and their rocket. The big black dogs were snarling and snapping and generally looking extremely disappointed that neither had managed to chomp off Nick's fingers. "Now can I freak out?" Nick said.